So how can you get people to buy into you? I remember reading my first book from Simon Sinek, Start With Why. I was early on in my business and I wanted to get people to take action because I knew if they did, it would change their lives forever, just like it did mine. While listening to Simon, he told me several things, including people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Leadership requires two things: a vision of the world that does not yet exist and the ability to communicate it. There are two ways that you can influence human behavior. You can manipulate it or you can inspire it. But there was one quote that stuck out and has been pivotal in helping us achieve the success we've had in our business, which has finally allowed us both to retire from our day jobs. And that's when he said, "The goal is not to do business with everyone who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe." But what does that mean? And how did we use this to start getting the right people to reach out to us and asking if they could work with us? That is what we are talking about today. If you're ready to start finding the right people who buy into what you do and why you do it, let's go. It's time to redefine leadership. Welcome to Modern Leadership, where we see things differently. Our channel is all about empowering entrepreneurs like you to achieve the next level of success in business and life. We believe that you can create a massive impact in the world without compromising your personal life or family time to do so.
We're committed to providing you with actionable tips and strategies weekly to make that possible. So if you're ready to become a modern leader and make a lasting difference in the world, consider subscribing, turn on notifications, and dive into our community. We want to thank you for being here because the world needs your leadership now more than ever. Let's go. Okay, so let's talk about something and see if you can really define what it means to you. So the quote that you said earlier was, "The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe." So what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so if I can boil it down to the most simplest terms, it would be we want to work with people and we want to attract people who have similar values and goals that we do. And I think a lot of times, especially when I started out in business, I wanted to help reach everyone and I wanted to help everyone on the planet. And so I was kind of like not being the real, true, authentic me. I was just being the person who just wanted to attract everybody. And so I wasn't stepping into my personal values. And so here on this channel, when we talk about like your family being a huge priority, right? The impact that you're going to make, physical and mental health. When we talk about all those things, we're attracting other people who share those same values. And those people are the ones who understand why we do what we do. And they're more likely to take action with us because it's in alignment with what they want to achieve too.
Yeah, I like how you explained that, because when you are trying to be something for everybody, you really dilute who you really are. And focusing on a specific person and your core values really makes you more authentic.
So let's dive a little bit deeper though into this quote, because after I heard this quote for the first time, I started to dive deeper into what does this actually mean? What does it look like? How can I show up in this way? And what are some of the times when I don't show up in this way? And what can I do differently? So I got a few questions for you. You ready? So can you share a story to really highlight why somebody really wants to do business with people who share the same beliefs?
Yeah. So for me personally, when I really stuck to my core values and really shared that in my message, I would attract people who I could really enjoy working with. And they really understood me and I understood them. When it was the opposite, it wasn't so fun. And it just didn't feel like I could really connect with that other person and vice versa. So I think it's really important to do this specifically for that connection piece and for you to be able to enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that last part, like when it comes to enjoying what you're doing, is so critical, right? When I remember early on in business, when I was just trying to help everyone, like there were people from all like walks of life, all different belief systems. And I remember having people inside of my program who had the hustle mentality of like, just work your face off. My family will be around once I excel and succeed. And then they'll be around to be able to like help spoil them. And I'll be able to spend more time with them then. And I just really felt awkward teaching and training those people because I'm like, no, like they always say, you don't want to come home with a pocket full of money to a home full of strangers. Right now, while you're building your business, you can create that epic connection. Maybe you won't have as much time to spend with them, but there's ways to look outside the box. And when I started to surround myself with them, I noticed that they also kind of like pulled me off track too. So not only was my business not enjoyable, but I felt like I wasn't in alignment with my core values either.
Yeah, I can see that because you kind of take on the values of other people, the habits of other people, if you spend time with them, right? We always talk about the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Mm-hmm.
All All right. So I have a specific question that I wrote down here that I want you to answer because I think it's really important. So what are some of the challenges you've encountered while trying to adhere to those principles in a business environment that often prioritizes profit over shared values?
Yeah, that's a big thing because I noticed that a lot of people, especially on social media, they're like me, where it's like you want to reach everyone and you want to help everyone. I know we're kind of talking about this earlier, but when you do that, you really dilute your message and why you're doing it, and you're trying to please everyone. And when you get people inside your program, when you're working with people, and it makes it feel like, why am I even doing this? Like, I'm not even enjoying what it is that I'm doing. I'm dreading actually getting on the call with this next client. I'm dreading the next time that I have a conversation with this person. It makes business not fun. Yeah. And I believe that to really be able to lean into your passion and to your purpose and find a thing that you love, but you also are really great at it and you can make a huge impact is really where it all comes together. I'm not saying that every part of business has to be fun, because I definitely don't love a lot of things, social media, things like that, where I'm I actually get people on the outside, my team, to be able to do that, right? But I love filming videos. I love leaning in and giving people hope and belief and giving them mindset shifts just like Simon gave me. And I think that's a really big reminder to me of, in the moment when I'm on a webinar and I'm I want to make some sales, or I'm on a call with somebody and I'm I do want to make some sales. But then there's this voice that's well, I don't think this is going to be the best for them. This isn't going to be the best fit. Maybe it's not the next skill that I think they need to learn. Maybe there's something else outside of what I do that they really need. I remind myself, my goal is only to help the other person connect with what they need. And if we're not a good fit, if there's somebody else out there, I want to do what's best for the other human on the other side of the table. A lot of times that is some of the things that we can do, right? Because we're talking in a very specific message and attracting people who come out and say, Mark and Teresa, can we work with you? And a lot of times it is a fit. But when it's not a fit, and I stick to my guns and I'm you know what, this is really not the best fit for you, but here is the next best fit. It makes me feel good, but it also gets them to trust me incredibly well. And I got to tell you, a lot of times those people are no, please let me pay you money. And I'm no, this really isn't the best fit, but it has us feeling more, I don't want to say connected, but more trust. We trust each other because I'm not just blindly recommending that somebody should buy my program just because I have it.
Yeah. And there's definitely kind of this element of abundance over scarcity, right? Because you don't come across as desperate that you want the sale. You really want what's best for them. And you also know that you're just not a good fit for them. So having that as a driving force for your business can take you a long way.
That actually brought up a really great question because, we're talking a lot about starting with why, right? Mm-hmm. Figuring out working with people who share your same or similar beliefs, right? One of the things you need to do in order to make sure that that's the case is ask them questions to find out what they believe and what they want to achieve. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of people even getting on sales calls and not taking the time to slow down and going, where are you right now? What do you want to achieve? What is something that I can do for you? If I could remove all the pain, all the struggles, all the obstacles, what would you want to be able to accomplish? And what do you think is holding you back from that right now? Because if you don't have that information, you don't know what their why is. And so you can't actually see, does my program or does what I do actually connect with them? And so when Simon talks about this, yes, he talks a lot about it from the perspective of the leader, the person who's talking, right? The person who's reminding everybody about his specific why or her specific why, so that people feel does this person get me or do they not get me? Which is equally okay, right? But reminding that this also works in the flip. Finding out what that other person wants and why is also critical so you can see if it's a match or not.
Yeah. And I think that this can also create, more trust, right? Because you're really trying to find out what works best for them rather than just kind of listing out what your program's about or how you help them and kind of giving them all the features rather than really analyzing what it is that they truly want to see if your program or whatever it is that you offer will actually benefit them.
Yeah, that word trust that you just said right there, that is so critical for leaders. It's a reason why in our book club, we actually read the book Trust by Dr. Henry Cloud. Really powerful book because when you are sharing your true authentic self and what you want to be able to achieve, and you're asking people questions to find out what they want to be able to achieve, you are literally diving into becoming a more trustworthy with each other, right? You trust that other person and they trust you, and they're more likely to decide if they're going to take an action that's in alignment with that if both of the values kind of line up. Okay, so now I got a tough one for you. This is, what advice would you give entrepreneurs and leaders who are struggling to find a balance between doing business effectively and staying true to their beliefs?
Okay, I think this kind of goes to really having belief in yourself. in what you can provide and the value that you bring. A lot of times people will have self-doubt regarding their own journey or whatever it is that they offer, but we have a lot of things that we can provide to people just based off what we've gone through, some of the challenges that we've gone through and some of the things that we've overcome. There's a lot of value in that. And sometimes we will shortchange ourselves because we don't have that true belief in ourselves.
Yeah. Simon really breaks it down too in all of the books that he talks about having belief in yourself. Because here's the thing, you could convince yourself that you're staying in your values by never telling anybody that you have a business, that you can help them, anything like that. But in reality, that's a version of self-sabotage. It's your brain convincing you to stay safe and to not share this. But the truth is that you have climbed lots of mountains before. And you might be on a mountain right now, but if you turn around, you can see all the mountains that you have climbed, and you know what shoes to wear, you know where to stop, you know how much water to bring, you know who to bring to help you climb up, you need to know what equipment to bring. And the reason why this mountain right now that you're climbing is so hard is just because it's the current one you're climbing. But you've done hard things before. And when you realize that all you need to be is a couple steps ahead of the person you're trying to lift up, it really allows you to tap into this and remind yourself that actually what you're fighting for is helping the other person. Not only helping them identify what they want and why they want it, but also the roadblocks to help them get out of the way.
Okay, so I have another specific question. So regarding content creation, so as a content creator, how do you ensure that your message really resonates with your audience that shares your beliefs, especially regarding leadership and family?
Well, I believe that social media is the greatest avenue for you to be able to find your people because there's hundreds of millions of people that are out there, right? And so when we talk about messaging, which is something that I help people with a lot, it is talking about your values, your beliefs, the things that you believe is going to attract other people to you. So the more that you can inject that into your social media, the more that you can inject that into what you do. I mean, sharing in your stories, what you're doing with your family. If family is a priority, they should make their way into your stories, into the things that you're doing, right? So that people will either go, oh, wow, I love this person. They're family-centered. Or I don't really enjoy this. All I want is leadership tips. Because there's a lot of business and leadership YouTube channels and all this kind of stuff that does not involve family. And so the more that you lead with what your values are and what your beliefs are, the more you will attract people who are like that. Now, that being said, there's also going to be certain areas where maybe you thrive in. Maybe there's a certain area, whether it's health or wellness or making money or family connection or asking questions. And you notice that every single time you talk about that, people come out of the woodwork. You have a lot of engagement on your social media. And by the way, if you haven't found that yet, just keep talking about different things that you love and enjoy until that does happen. But when you find that thing, you keep doing that, but you inject your core values into it. You ask yourself, how can I do this a little differently, but share some of my core values with them? Because when you share those, you're going to bring in people who have similar core values and repel the rest. And both of those situations are very important because if you went viral on social media, which I feel like everybody wants to go viral, if you go viral on social media and you get a whole lot of the wrong people, that is not a good recipe. Now, the algorithm, everything's going to be a mistake and messed up, and you're going to be not knowing who to reach out to and who to get help from, but being able to be true to yourself and not going viral per se, but just connecting with the right people is really where success lies.
Yeah, I agree. And it really doesn't take a lot of people to actually create success. There are a lot of content creators out there that have a very small following, and they're doing fantastic.
Now, I'm not sure if you know this, but we actually have a business leadership book club where we dive through books like Simon's, John Maxwell, Brene Brown, and so many other powerful leaders to help you find the principles that are taught inside of the book and how they apply to business, to our family, and to our health. If that's not something you're a part of yet, I'll leave you the information in the description below. We want to thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to lean in, learn from Simon, and many of the other people who've come before us when they are literally showing us the path to success. Thank you for what you do out there every single day, and keep leading from the front, leader. Bye.